hello again to my makeshift couch because it hasn't come yet, but I have news. The couch is coming a couple of weeks earlier than I expected. I'm so excited. It's not really what I was going to talk to you about today, but I might have also finally figured out a way to edit. It didn't have to do with my computer. It had to do with my phone, the one I'm filming on, because it was filming in a different format. I think I managed to make it so my computer can understand it. So if I have managed to be able to do that, so I can edit, I have a tiny little clip where I show you the first 2 things I made in March. Hopefully that will be inserted now. Hello to, a short little clip because I don't have a lot of time. I wanted to show a little bit more of what I made in March, and the reason the clip is gonna be a little short is very simple. I'm giving it away, what I've made. So, I had a friend of mine. Oh, wait, I should get the yarn. Hold on. I had a friend of mine, my new friend, and I'm not using okay. My new friend had sock yarn. She doesn't like very much knitting socks. I don't mind knitting socks. In fact, I kind of like knitting socks. So she had some sock yarn. This, not quite sure what it's called. It's some German yarn. Strumpfwolle. I think it means sock yarn in German. It's, hold on, 75% wool and 25% polyamide. And you need very skinny or thin needles for that. I used 2.5 millimeter needles, and first I knitted 1 pair of socks. Hold on. Showing this one hand is like super hard. Look, a sock. And when you make 2 in the same color, it's a pair. I used 2.5 millimeter needles. And this is such the weirdest little clip. Okay, focus here. I used 16 days knitting 1 pair of socks, which is like, what? More than 2 weeks on a pair of socks? Sure, they're a little bit bigger than what I usually make because they're for her dad. But, 16 days on a pair of socks. In my defense, I did start these socks before I finished the sweater I mentioned in my February makes. So I feel like that's fair because these were easy to bring on Knit Group, whereas a sweater, when putting it together and all, not so easy. But when I finished these socks, I was also finished with the sweater. So another ball, same yarn, different color, like blue and grays. So same size, same yarn, same everything. But this pair, so much quicker. This editing gonna be fun. I used only 9 days on these. So, it's the exact same. Same needle, same yarn, same stitch count, same number of rows, same everything. 16 days on this one, 9 days on this one. So, that's improvement, but also doing only one thing at a time is so much faster, to only knit on 1 item instead of spacing time between 2 items. So the 2 first things that I finished knitting in March. I really hope that worked. So the first 2, I was super stressed when I made that little clip because I thought I had more time and then I didn't, and then I was going and giving the 2 pairs of socks that I had knitted, and you know, sometimes things get done in a hurry. Ever since I learned, I'm knitting socks from the toe and up, because that way I don't have to sit and fiddle with 4 needles at the end, or the end of the toe, when I have to like only a few stitches on the needles. I don't have to deal with that. I start from the toe and knit up, and it's all good. And the heel I knit, it's gosh, I don't remember the name of it. Like it's a short row heel of sorts, and it's the same whether you do it one way or the other, and it fits very well to most heels, especially because I do a lot of ribbing in my socks, so they're very stretchy. Can recommend that, because that way they can fit a lot. If you have skinny feet, they just don't expand as much, and if you have like bigger feet, they stretch. It's great. So the socks I've been knitting, a friend of mine, my new friend, she is also a crafter. She makes all these incredible things, and she knows how to paint, and she's great at it. My painting would be like stick figures, and that would be it, so, you know. But I know how to knit socks. She also knows how to knit socks. She just don't like it, but I like it. So she gave me a bag of yarn because her dad likes home knitted socks. She had yarn, but don't want to knit them. I like knitting, so I've been knitting socks. So I found that to be a great solution. So the second pair, I used 9 days, and it was multicolored with like blue gray color, and I had enough of that yarn so I actually could knit the whole pair with one color. It was great. And the first pair and the third pair is with the same yarn. It's okay. This is the little leftover. I'd rather not fall. Like, how do you do this? This is the yarn, and this is information. Can you see properly? Probably not. I gotta find a little bit of a better solution to that. Either way, the first pair of socks that I made, I used 16 days of knitting that pair, because I was also knitting around a small tablecloth. And if you want to see that one, you have to go to my previous Knitting Diaries to watch that. So, and I knitted kind of like the first pair of socks and the round tablecloth, like at the same time, not sitting with both at the same time, but like one or the other. So the first pair of socks took me 16 days. The third pair of socks is just the exact same as the first, and I used 10 days on this. I don't know why I used 10. So we have 16, then 9, and here we're at 10 days. And obviously, same yarn. But the heel is, it looks a little silly, I feel, this way. But because I do ribbing on top, it's very stretchy. And I start from the toe, and obviously stockinette under, but ribbing on the top of the foot and all the way over, like, it's not called a shaft, the leg, ribbing all the way. So I used 10 days on these, and I've already shown you the yarn. So that was the third pair of socks I knitted in March. And then, lo and behold, more socks! The fourth pair of socks I knitted in March. I spent 10 days knitting these. And as you can see, they are, I'm just gonna hold up one because, yeah, they're multicolored. We have the foot starting, hold on. Is this the right one? Yeah, I think so. The foot, let me show you the yarn first. This is the yarn, and Can you even see? Why do we even do this? I don't know. It's called a regatta socks. I'm fairly certain it is a German yarn because a lot of the text is in German, so probably a German yarn. And the other yarn is basically the exact same, just in a different color. Right there. Right here. So same yarn, but different color because she had one ball of each. So I started with the red, did the same, and I considered like having a bit of a leftover, and then I decided against it, and then I kind of regretted it a little, but it's fine. It's fine. No leftover of the red yarn because when I got to the heel, how do I even show you this properly? Okay, because when you get to the heel, you knit back and forth, and then when you get to like the shortest part or the narrowest part, you kind of flip it over and continue. So most of the heel, as you can see, is knitted with the red, and then I started with the other one, like slightly. How do we even show this properly? Like here, I switched to this yarn. Or same yarn, different color. So that was kind of, short video today. That's quite impressive. I have other things to tell you, but that is a completely different thing. Not completely. There was a market. It was fun. Mostly. There were something that happened, so not all was fun. Let me tell you. But yeah, I can only show 2 right now because the other 2 have been delivered. And that's kind of all I did. That's not true. I had 4 pairs of socks of my own that I had to fix. I have since cleaned them and put them back in the drawer, but they were home knitted socks. I had been using home knitted socks. My feet are always cold, so home knitted socks are great in my opinion. There is one problem though. I use them up, as in I make holes under the toes and under the heel, and they get holes. And I put them on every morning. And then there was one morning I'd put my previous pair, because I do clean them, and honestly, and I know a lot of wool stuff, you have to be like careful when you wash, but my regular hand knitted wool socks, I just toss them in the regular wash because they're for being used. I make them to be used, like rough use. So I put the previous pair in the laundry, grabbed a new pair, and I wore them like a couple of days because, you know, I use cotton socks on my feet, and then I use the wool socks on top of that because I can't have wool socks right on my feet because that would be itching myself to death or scratching myself. It would be itchy. I don't like it. Anyway, I grabbed a new pair of socks from the drawer. I'd used them for like, it was the second morning, I think. Putting them on is like, something feels off. Yeah, when there's a hole in your sock, it does occasionally feel off. That is correct. So I was like, oh, that was unfortunate. So I put those to the side and went to grab a new pair. And it was great. For the first 2 days. I'm not kidding you. Well, like 2 days. And then I put them on. It's like, something feels off. And the first pair was still in the laundry because it hadn't been that many days and I hadn't needed to do laundry. And I was like, oh, well, good thing I have more socks. So I grabbed a third pair out of my drawer. And I still hadn't fixed the first 2. And then the third pair, what do you know? It's like, are you kidding me type of thing? The third pair, a couple more days goes by. And then at some point during a day, it's like, something feels off around my feet. And what do you know? the third pair had a hole. Actually, I think the third pair had a hole in both socks. And I was just like, are you kidding me? I know I have a lot of socks, but like, seriously? So I put those aside. The third pair that now had a hole, or several holes to be honest, and grabbed the fourth pair out of my drawer. Yeah, they have not had holes. And I washed the first pair, and I have since mended or fixed the 3 pairs. 3 pairs! Are you kidding me? 3 pairs! That had holes. But yeah, I fixed them. Shoved them in the laundry because that's what you do. Or at least that's what I do. And they have since been cleaned and are now back in their drawers. And hopefully, next time I take them out, I really hope they're gonna stay, intact, so I don't have to fix them anytime soon. But yeah, I also did that. So I'm not just knitting socks, I'm also mending my own socks that I've knitted previously. So yeah, that was fun. I don't really like mending socks. I don't like weaving in ends. I like the knitting part. All the fixing, not quite me, but it is needed. There is a couple of those pairs. I have considered just basically cutting the feet off and like re-knitting the foot or heel, foot, and toe, because I've been fixing those for a while. And I mean, I kind of wish there was a way to like detach like this part, like toe, foot, and heel from the leg part, because the leg part, it's always fine. I never wear out the leg part. Under the toes and under the heel, oh my lord, are you kidding me? I wear out a lot of home knitted socks so fast. Actually, not so fast. It depends a little bit on the yarn. I have learned, that was also a learning experience. I knitted socks from 100% wool yarn. Yeah, exactly 4 uses. And they had massive holes. And I was just like, what? That's when I learned why sock yarn have either nylon or polyamide or some kind of like thing that strengthens it. Yeah, that's why sock yarn has that in them. These have, I don't even know, polyamide. Yeah. Does these do? Yeah, polyamide or nylon. That's why sock yarn has a bit of that in them. So they will not be worn out after like 4 uses. But even with that, they do get worn out, and then you have to fix them. And you know what? It's fine. Because that means you get to continue using them for a really, really long time. And, even though I like knitting socks, I like also doing other things. And I think it's good that you can mend things. So hopefully, my friend's dad is going to be happy with even more new socks. And I have something set aside here too, but that I made in April, so that I will tell you about when April is past. For now, this is what I made in March. I hope you enjoyed this little chat and seeing what I made. And I love socks. They're so squishy and warm. And since wool makes me itch, I'm not gonna hug them because, also weird hugging my friend's dad's new socks, maybe. I don't know. Probably. Then again, at the moment, they're at my house. The socks. Not my friend. She don't live with me. I live alone. I like that. But yeah, squishy socks. What's not to love? I hope you have enjoyed this, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!